Hey, it's Big Ben's Movie Show. I'm your host, Big Ben. Thanks for checking back in with us for another week. This week on the show, my guest host is Derek Isamaki.
What's up, guys? How are you doing?
That's his move, the double hand wave.
The double hand wave.
If you didn't know, yeah.
Thank
you.
There
was a lot of discussion about it.
Yeah.
All right.
Juan asked me beforehand what my move was going to be. I didn't realize I had to have one, so thank you, Juan, for the heads up.
I didn't know we had moves, but there you go. All right, so this week we watched two movies. We're going to be talking about Ghostbusters. The new one, yeah, all the controversial, it's Lady Ghostbusters, what are we going to do? And we're also going to be talking about The Infiltrator, which kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but we're going to be talking about that one too. Let's go ahead and start with Ghostbusters and take a look at the clip.
Okay, power up!
All right, so there was the clip from Ghostbusters, and that showed an interesting thing about this when we were just having a quick chat about that, where the proton packs actually worked as ropes. And then there was this whole thing of how do you fight with ropes. And in the original movie, of course, there wasn't really much fighting. You would either shoot it and make something explode, or shoot it and make somebody stand still so that you can hit them with the trap. This movie, though, because they had different types of weapons and things like that, there was a lot of kind of lassoing things and then throwing them into each other.
That's one of the reasons like I said, this movie didn't quite hit home for me in particular.
Okay.
A lot of it didn't, like I said, it didn't quite make sense how it went from this is a thing you're going to wrangle people with to like, now I'm going to destroy you by like somehow whipping you, willfully about.
Well, so that was the thing too. I wondered that too, was that how do you, it doesn't kill the ghosts.
No, I didn't,
It seems like they knocked them unconscious.
It was interesting, like, in half the time the ghosts, like, they either can go through things and they don't, and when they go through things, they leave a really slimy substance behind.
Yeah.
Just certain things that just kind of irked me the wrong way with it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start from the beginning. Yeah. I liked this movie. I thought it was funny and cute, and when I walked out of the theater, I was just as happy as I was when I saw the original Ghostbusters. Derek?
Completely opposite. I was not to say I didn't have very high expectations. Mainly Ghostbusters, as I did say, it's not something that really hits home for me. It's not one of those really classic. People say it's a great Bill Murray movie, and I'm like, let me say, it's not Groundhog Day. So that's where I kind of draw the line. So I was never a huge Ghostbusters fan. So going to this one, I was seeing it because obviously doing the show, I had to, but I was willing to give it a try. And it just, I don't know, there's certain characters that just kind of irked me the wrong way, like Kate McKinnon. Her character just somehow, I didn't get it half the time, what she was really going for. And I will say though, Chris Hemsworth did a pretty decent job in the movie. He was probably my redeemable quality in it.
Especially when we read later that he actually improvised a lot of his lines, including the great job interview scene where he really gets to shine, he really gets to chew up the scenery for a minute. And read earlier today, that actually was completely improvised. Paul Feig, the guy who directed this movie and Bridesmaids and a lot of other Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig movies, likes to let his actors, kind of mess around. So they do a take as written, and then they all get to do a couple takes just for fun. And a lot of those fun takes end up getting put in the movie. Chris Hemsworth gets to make up an entire job interview scene where he asks them about, can my cat come live here? And they say, no, we don't allow cats. And he goes, oh, no, it's a dog. His name is Michael Hat. So that's why I said Mike. Yeah, it ended up working. It sounds way funnier in the movie than it does here. Here it just sounds like a stupid miscommunication. But
a little bit, yeah. I mean, that was one of the funnier moments in that movie for me.
Yeah,
there weren't, for me at least, I didn't quite find too many of them. So when this one happened, I was really on board. And when you told me that it was improvised, it really made me respect it even more so. And actually, I kind of respect Chris Hemsworth that much more now.
Yeah, no, it's I really wish he could find a movie that he as a solo star actually gets to do well, but so far not so much.
I would say the movie I'm thinking of that mostly kind of gets to me is Rush. I don't know if you ever saw that when he plays the Formula One driver.
I haven't seen it, but I which is weird because I own it, but I haven't seen it.
That's interesting. I would highly recommend that one. Yeah.
So I haven't gotten around to watching it yet.
He does a good job as leading in that movie. So
and I feel like he's done a good job as leads in movies, but the movies don't succeed.
Yeah.
Like Rush didn't make any money. money. Huntsman didn't make any money.
The
Black Cat didn't make any money.
Into the Heart of the Ocean.
In the Heart of the Sea didn't make any money. And although I did like that.
I thought it was a good one too.
So although I liked it up until they were done with the whale, and then when they did all the "we're stranded at sea" part,
trying to eat it, yeah,
it just sucked. So yeah,
the whale made this movie.
The whale made the movie. Yeah. Everything with the whale is amazing. So.
Whales.
But in terms of this movie, I liked it better than I thought I was. A lot of people said, "Oh, it's not very funny," and again, the trailers did look bad. It was a bad trailer. But lately, a lot of the movies that have great trailers are coming out as bad movies, and a lot of the movies with bad trailers, well, actually, so far it's just this one. But it was I thought it was a good movie, and most of the reviews are kind of showing that out. It's doing fairly well on Rotten Tomatoes. It's doing fairly well kind of across everything. There is a pocket of people that don't like it, such as Derek.
Hey, yeah. Sorry.
But there's also a large contingent of people that think it's okay, and in many ways, I don't remember the first one being very funny.
It wasn't, yeah. It's not really.
It's like a ghost movie.
Yeah, it's a horror movie that's got some comedic elements in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a movie that's made by comedians about horror, so it ends up being somewhat funny.
I think this one kind of works out in that way too. I think it is a great. It's a good horror flick if you're not something that likes to get super scared into movies, that really gets into it.
I don't even know if I called it a horror flick. I felt, I took my kid to it. 9.5 years old, I took her to it, and she loved it. She thought it was great. And for me, it was more of like a funny action comedy type thing. Yeah,
I definitely say it would go down that route. Like I said, comedy hit and miss for me, was a lot of misses in particular.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's certain parts of the storylines that in particular just kind of, it felt like, talking to Juan, I went to actually go on a little mandate with Juan to see this movie.
There you go.
So we're talking about how the storyline just, it felt like there was a big scene that was cut out. Because like you got a point where Kristen Wiig.
I was talking to him about that in there, where you guys think Kristen Wiig left the team, and there should have been some breakup scene.
We feel like there's something that should have happened there, because we had no idea how that.
That didn't bother me at all.
At all, okay.
Like the way that she went away for a bit and then came back, and they were like, "Oh, you're back." I thought she seriously just like went home for a bit.
I mean, maybe that's what they're going for, and I'm glad that didn't, you're able to stay within the movie.
Yeah.
It kind of threw me out, and like that's one of the things, if I get thrown out of a movie by like trying to analyze it too much, it really just takes me out of the moment, and I think that's probably one of the reasons just I started looking at it too much of like, how am I going to talk about this on your show?
Gotcha.
And I think that maybe took away from my, more enjoyment of it.
Possibly, yeah. No, that's I've had myself be guilty of that too sometimes. For me though, just sitting in the theater, I was enjoying it. It was fun. The fight scene, actually, the little clip you guys just saw, threw me a little bit just because I thought they were going to make the ghosts disappear with just the weapons. And to me, there was an explanation for that, but they didn't do that explanation.
And I was really wondering, like, the entire time, like, were the ghosts harming people? Because they just felt like they're just flying around and having a good old time. Like, it didn't seem like people were scared because they see ghosts flying around.
Well, one stole her car.
Oh, that is true. Yes, you did have that one. The classic one,
Slimer, the classic ghost.
Yeah, and he came out again.
We should all mention too, though, that all of the original cast of the Ghostbusters, including the dead one, make an appearance in the movie.
Yeah, I missed the dead guy.
Did you? Okay.
Juan told me about it.
I caught it. Yeah,
no.
Right as they come around a corner, there is a bust of Harold Ramis's head right in a hallway, and you get to see it. And for me, it was like, Harold Ramis, and my wife was like, who the hell is Harold Ramis? It was fun. Bill Murray actually has
a decent
sized role, not a cameo either. Dan Aykroyd, of course, just a cameo.
Yeah.
And then, which is weird because he was the executive producer of the movie.
I was interesting, surprised to see a lot of those guys actually get behind it.
It's because they were part of it. I mean, Dan Aykroyd's been trying to remake Ghostbusters since the mid-'90s. Yeah, good stuff there. All right, so that's Ghostbusters. Agree to disagree on that one, and it sounds like we're probably going to agree to disagree on this next one. This is The Infiltrator, starring Bryan Cranston, John Leguizamo. Here's the clip.
Cheers. Can I ask you a question? Have you ever had your palm read?
Well, my wife Gloria believes in it, but sad to say I am more of a skeptic.
May I?
Please.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Is there a problem?
No, I've just never seen quite so many stars align at the fate line.
Okay.
It's more than okay. it means destiny has marked you for success.
So that was a fun, tense moment kind of in the middle of the movie where the young lady that you saw, this is her first undercover mission, and she's being thrown right into the deep end, having to meet high-level cartel bosses. So let's go ahead and start with the beginning. I liked this one. I thought they did a good job of it. There was a lot of common tropes that you see in undercover cop movies, but they're the kind of tropes that you really can't avoid if you're making an undercover cop movie. Derek, what did you think?
Again, it was another tough one for me. I was not a big fan of this, and I went into this one really wanting to like it. Like I said, I told you, give me Pablo Escobar, drugs, money, cartel, I'm all aboard. I'm 100% on them. I love the Pablo Escobar story. I find him a fascinating character. And
this one, though, is barely about
Pablo Escobar,
yeah.
which kind of threw me for a loop. That's what I think was, one of the get-go, I was like, okay, you're going after his cartel, but you they barely mention him, and you see him for one split second in the movie. So he's not a character in this film at all.
And he's so hard to notice that one character has to tell the other characters that was him.
And I think maybe that's what they're maybe going for. I think they're trying to I don't know if they're trying to be really accurate with how the story was, because probably Escobar wasn't a well-known figure in America at that time. They probably, before he gets to the fact that the DEA and everyone's trying to take him down. It looks like it's like the beginning of that phase for him. But it felt like a very fast-paced movie to me, because I feel if you're trying to get yourself into the Medellin cartel, it's a long-consuming process. It just felt like it was so easy for them.
Well, and I think what we're seeing with that is that they just skipped over lots of time.
Yeah, that must have been the case.
Like when they make the agreement in advance to we'll start laundering your money, then I'm assuming there's a time jump of 2 or 3 months.
It has to be something like that, because it felt like there's no way you're going to do this. And there's a lot of things happen where the entire time Bryan Cranston's character is saying how they need to be careful out there, and saying that a lot of things can happen if you go, take a wrong move.
One wrong move.
Yeah, one wrong move.
And that's one of those tropes of the undercover cop movies that
most definitely you get why they have to do that.
Yeah.
But when he had that scene where he went to dinner with his anniversary dinner with his wife, and the guy, I thought that was the most humorous, that was so annoying me so much. I hated that scene.
I thought that was so tense and wonderful.
I thought, why would you go out with your wife knowing that you're playing a character where people are in the city that you're in right now, and you're gonna
they're not necessarily in that city, but they're all over the place.
They really did seem that's the thing. They didn't really tell you where a lot of it was happening, so I didn't quite know the
I felt like his home was in New York. I felt like
that's the thing. He didn't even tell you where that was. You knew that he was going into Miami a lot of the times because he had his own his business, his fake business he was running out of there.
Yeah.
But when that happened, I was like, why would you make that mistake? That's once you go into undercover, especially if you're going into undercover for that cartel, everyone's telling you how dangerous it is, and you did that type of mistake. I just felt, to me, it seemed like, why would you do that? I get why they try to do it, because they want to show
dinner with his wife.
Yeah.
The guy can't ever go out to dinner with his wife.
I feel like when you're undercover at this point in time, you cannot, because of what just happened. The fact that you're going to have to keep playing that character in front of your wife.
I found that whole scene of now he's basically asking his wife to be in on it and to be an undercover agent for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't just oh hi and this is my wife and bye. Yeah. He invites the guy to sit and eat with him. Yeah, which I was like, holy crap! Why would you In my mind, that was a really dumb idea to do that. But it's also part of what's in character for him to do.
No doubt. So, and you definitely felt like he didn't know what, a lot of times, one thing I liked about his character when he was undercover was he didn't know how to act around them. Yeah. And that's something that I was expecting, because when he put his hand out to shake the people and no one responding, it's not really the culture, especially when you're in this business, it felt like. But another thing that really annoyed me a little bit was there was Spanish speaking in there. And I felt if you're going to do a cartel movie about the Colombian cartel, pretty much majority has got to be speaking Spanish. When there's a Colombian in the same room, they're not talking English, I felt. And John Leguizamo's character very often he's talking English to these guys. And that was something
That's a good point.
That's something that really just kind of irked me a little bit, because he did talk Spanish in parts, and I was like, continue that frame. I know people don't like reading captions, but I feel like just the authenticity of the movie becomes much more real when you're actually speaking Spanish, I felt. And again, I love Pablo Escobar, so I really dissect this one in terms of how I would want to watch it.
Interesting. Yeah. No, to me, I just pretty much followed the Bryan Cranston character through the whole thing, and I thought it was great, especially this part where he gets caught, basically, with his briefcase opening, and they get to see the tape recorder. And
that one guy got killed off right off.
And I mean, thankfully he had to be. So I mean, luckily, the guy who catches him gets killed right before he's about to announce to everybody that he caught him. So no, it's Yeah, there's some really, I felt like there were some really fun tense moments. In a movie where I was expecting tense moments, I felt like I didn't always see them coming. So in that, I thought they did a good job of it. For me, this was actually one of the best weekends of movies I've had since I started this show. In that there was two movies, big movies that came out, and I really, really liked both of them. And I'm trying to think of the last time that happened, and it's been a while.
It is really interesting that we do have really just completely opposite ideas of both these movies.
Yeah. No,
and like I said, I went on another mandate for The Infiltrator and took Jiro with me, and both of us were just we were left wanting more. Like I felt like I never really got satisfied with Bryan Cranston's character and really able to grasp onto him and really felt there were certain moments you had that. But there were times where like when he was in character that you didn't really feel that he was in character. Like for his his undercover character versus his real life.
True.
You didn't feel the difference between them because I feel like there has to be.
one of the biggest ones that I thought was crazy, even just a bad, and I don't know if it's a bad movie choice or if it was just a bad real life choice for these characters, was at the wedding when they're rounding up finally all of the cartel guys in front of them, and they don't let themselves get cuffed. Yeah, they just stand there and let it happen. It was like
that one line, "Take them away." That when that happened, I honestly cracked up laughing because I thought how ridiculous of a line that was. I don't know.
Yeah, and then the one other thing you were talking about, rushed relationships. The movie felt rushed. The relationship between him and Benjamin Bratt and their wives. And this that was apparently so really strong bond.
Oh yeah,
which, as far as I can see, happens over like 2 dates.
Yeah, 2 dinners they
like
had.
Two double dates.
You had that moment where the hand, but that was the wife wasn't there for that moment. But they did become like family to them. That's where they're treating them. And I thought that was very, again, the pacing just felt very off to me.
It just didn't, it didn't totally make sense. That part was a little bit weird. I would have liked to see more, or at least, like I said, if they had been putting the dates or the times of when you were seeing stuff, so that we in the audience can understand, oh, this is 6 months later, they've been doing business successfully for 6 months.
I need to know a timeline.
Changes my whole impression of it,
Give me the complete timeline, then I'm a little bit more accepting of it. And it was interesting because I didn't realize the banks that they brought down from the scandal, the top executives at that bank in Panama. Like I said, wasn't quite, that history was a little unbeknownst to me, so it's kind of interesting that aspect, knowing that that's what he took down actually, and it's not really the Medellin cartel so much as the banks
the
that were
money people
the
of
money
the
people
cartel.
at all. Yeah,
so he took down a couple of the money people on the cartel side, and then a bunch of the dirty bankers that were helping it happen. Yeah. So those are the two movies that we watched this weekend. Next up, we're going to be talking about, we're just going to do a quick check-in with the summer box office. We're a little more than halfway through the summer season. May, of course, is the start of it. Just want to take a quick look at the movies that are really doing well so far. The biggest winner, of course, is Disney. Disney has Finding Dory and Captain America: Civil War, and those two movies are not just the top movie earners for the summer, but for the entire year. Between the two of them, Captain America has done over $1 billion worldwide, and Finding Dory has done close to $500 million just domestically, and is also cruising over $1 billion worldwide. And Finding Dory, by the way, still kicking, still making money.
I haven't seen that one yet. I need to check that one out.
They're huge monster hits.
I mean, even Pixar and Finding Nemo was huge, and the kids are sucked in, and you got to have a big adult following with them too. So.
So, interesting thing that for the rest of these movies, the other 3 movies for the biggest movie of the year are actually not on here, which is an interesting stat. Normally the summer is where the big money is made. Those are where all the biggest movies are for the whole year. But here we have these other movies, and it's Central Intelligence and X-Men Apocalypse, and I can't totally read the other one. But yeah, no, so those are the ones that are doing well here. But for the year, the number 3 movie is actually Deadpool, which came out way back in February.
Yeah, it was a great movie.
And is a great movie, but February is usually not where big money movies happen. And that's an interesting thing. So when we're looking at the big movies for the year, it's so the other ones that are up there are Zootopia, Jungle Book, and Deadpool. And they're not on this list because they weren't technically summer movies.
Yeah.
Deadpool came out in February, Zootopia came out in March, and Jungle Book came out in April. And it's kind of a telling trend that we're now seeing, because the other big movie that came out in March was Batman vs. Superman, which also did around 750, 800 million. So the fact that giant monster movies aren't necessarily being summer movies anymore might be a telling trend as we're seeing movies start to trend more and just releasing them whenever. I mean, it used to be that if you released in January or February, that's where you dumped your garbage. And now we're seeing between Kung Fu Panda and Deadpool, there's some huge winners in those months. So interesting seeing that changing trend within the movie industry.
I think if you just put a big enough movie out there, people are going to go see it no matter what now.
That's kind of what we're seeing now. Yeah, that's and to be fair though, the trope of it is still true. The biggest movies of the year came out in the summer.
Definitely.
We're also going to be seeing a huge movie in December when Rogue One comes out.
Oh yes. Oh,
so yeah, and it's and we're seeing it already too with stuff that we're seeing that's going to be coming out in September going forward. That's where all the Oscar bait gets dumped.
Yes.
Is the last 4 months of the year. So,
yeah. What's it called? Jason Bourne's coming out pretty soon.
Jason Bourne coming out. No, I don't think that's the Oscar bait, but I saw Meryl
Still,
Streep's.
yeah.
Meryl Streep's new movie though comes out in August. Florence something Henderson, where she's an old lady who wants to sing. So yeah, it's we're starting to see those movies trend in September. The next Tom Hanks movie, I believe, is also the Sully movie.
I was just saying, I did see a preview for that one this weekend.
There you go.
Yeah, Sully.
I think that'll be an interesting one because it sounds like they're going to show it as a very real story.
I was going to say, I don't know much about it, and I hope this one kind of does give you a really inside look to it. So
it's what it looked like, yeah. So, all right, time for Suck Not Suck. Number 1, Chris Hemsworth. He's all over the news. We had him in Suck Not Suck last week too.
Oh, yeah.
But he is now set to star. They've already announced it, which is ballsy, because considering the movie doesn't come out till this weekend. Star Trek 4. So Beyond hasn't even come out yet. They're already announcing the next one.
And he's going to star in it?
And Chris Hemsworth is going to be in it.
Interesting.
So he plays Kirk's dad. He did that in the first one.
I do remember.
He's coming back as Kirk's dad.
Interesting. I mean, like I said, I just said how much I was praising Chris Hemsworth, and I do like the guy. And the Star Trek, that first movie kind of threw me for a loop. My dad's a big-time Trekkie fan, so it's kind of instilled in me. And when you destroyed Vulcan, it really kind of tore a small... My dad did not like that at all.
Oh, it completely wrecked the universe.
It really does.
Yeah.
And I feel like once you're doing this, it's like really completely twisting it. Like, you can't even really recognize it anymore if you're bringing it back. So it's going to be...
No, yeah.
It might be... Like I said, I'm going to say it's not going to... I don't think it's going to suck. I don't think so. The series has been pretty good. They've been doing a decent job of
The
paying
reviews for
homage.
this next one are so far great. So
See, there we go. But like I said, it seems they're messing with a lot of things. I think when they did it in the first one, I was like, okay, I know what you're trying to do. You're just trying to create a whole new Star Trek. So that's what they're going for. And
it's an excuse to rewrite the whole
yeah,
universe.
exactly. Yeah. So I'll give it a chance.
Yeah. I'm also going to say not suck. I think having Chris Hemsworth in Star Trek is a great idea. And plus, just adding to his little franchise empire that he's got. All right, so there you go. That's Star Trek 4. Next one up, next bit of news. Indiana Jones, it has been announced, is going to now get one of these expanded movie universes we're seeing a lot of. It started, of course, with the Marvel movies, now to the DC movies. Transformers, we've heard, is getting one. The Universal movie monsters from back in the day, Wolfman, Mummy, they're getting an expanded universe.
Wow.
Starting with The Mummy starring Tom Cruise, which comes out next year.
They're going crazy right now.
Yeah, so this idea of expanded universes is really blowing up, and now it's been announced that Indiana Jones is going to get one of these, which of course will then lead to an Indiana Jones movie that does not have Indiana Jones in it.
I gotta say it's gonna suck. Indiana Jones that's sacred ground to me, I feel. I grew up, I remember those movies vividly. I mean, the ride at Disneyland just kind of instills in you how great they are.
Yeah.
And it's just Indiana Jones. It's Indy, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and it's going to be kicked off with Indiana Jones 5.
Actually, I didn't even, like I was saying, I have not seen the fourth one. Those three I feel were beginning, middle, end. I don't need many more of them. So I kind of refuse to see the fourth one. So I'm going to say suck for that because that doesn't appeal to me very much.
Yeah, I'm going to say suck too. The whole reason for Indiana Jones having a universe is because of the character. I don't want to see a movie about Sala. I don't want to see a movie about what's his name, the old guy that runs the museum. I don't care about these people. Nobody in that world matters except for Indiana Jones. So definitely do not make a Mutt movie. Do not make a Mutt movie. Shia LaBeouf should not even be allowed back into the regular movies. No more. Next one up, Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson, one of my favorite actors in the world, is set to play an American general who conquers or who defeats North Korea in a fight in South Korea. This is actually a famous battle that is part of why North Korea and South Korea are divided, and it's actually the battle that kind of set up where we are now. He's going to be playing General MacArthur in the movie. But the thing that's interesting is he has now come out and said that he is worried about North Korea attacking the movie, similar to the way they did with The Interview with James Franco and Seth Rogen.
I mean, once you bring that kind of plot into it, that North Korea is going to get in the mix, I'm going to say that's not going to suck. That entices me a little bit more. I didn't know this movie was getting made, so it kind of actually excites me.
Seriously, this wasn't on my radar at all, but it looks...
I'm always down for a good historical flick if they can do a decent job of kind of portraying what actually happened, and that might be an interesting find. Like I said, I'm always down for refresher in the Korean War.
Yeah. All right, number 4. Shane Black. Shane Black, the writer of the Lethal Weapon movies, director of Lethal Weapon 3, writer of Lethal Weapon, or of Iron Man 1 and 2, I believe, is going to make a new Predator movie. He's set to direct and write a new movie about the Predator, the fun alien thing that's like giant, has claws, and makes that little weird ticking
this
sound.
mouth that opens up rather
and the
oddly.
heat vision.
Yes.
Yeah, the,
You're one ugly mother. Yeah. That's good old Arnold.
So he wants James Franco to be the star of the next Predator movie, which means we might get to see James Franco get eaten by a predator.
I'm all for Predator movies.
Yeah.
I really am. One fantastic watch, love it anytime. 2 is a terrible movie, but it's fantastic at the same time.
Yeah, I love it.
It's like a really bad good movie.
But yeah, no, any Predator movie, I love them. Keep making them. You could do Predators Take Manhattan. I'll watch that movie. That sounds great. So, all right, number 5. George Lucas visited the Rogue One set of the new Star Wars movie Rogue One, and was very critical of every single thing he saw. And then afterwards tried to say that it was a joke and he didn't mean it, and tried to laugh it off. And for the most part, they're announcing it like, oh, he did mean it. It wasn't a joke.
Yeah.
He actually was kidding.
And that actually.
But so far, he didn't like the new Force Awakens.
I'm not gonna. I think that George Lucas can't really be involved with them anymore. He's too close to the product. Yeah, and I was fine with The Force Awakens. I didn't think I was, it hit some points that weren't great, but as a Star Wars movie, I thought I did a great job paying homage to the original trilogy, which is really what I want. We all like it. You can't recreate them again. You can't.
Nope.
It's, you're striking magic at that
But
point.
if you can get the similar feel and you can get the similar tone, that's all we're looking for.
Exactly, and I feel like they did that with The Force Awakens, and when I hear that George Lucas doesn't like it, that kind of makes me want to see Rogue One more.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be good now.
George Lucas doesn't like it?
Okay.
That movie's going to be gold.
Exactly. Yes, I'm 100% behind that because he really does get too close to products.
Absolutely. So, all right. So that's our show for this week. Thanks for watching. If you got questions with the show, issues with the show, or if you'd like to be a host like Derek was, you can give us an email. The email here is bigbms@zoho.com. If you like me and want to hear more of what I have to say, you can check me out on my podcast. It's called Geek Wars Podcast. And I actually have a new podcast called Die Hard on a Blank, where we discuss Die Hard movies and what other movies in the world basically would fit as a Die Hard movie. So, Derek, anything you want to plug?
Oh yeah, We Got the Road is our show that is still alive and well. We did take a couple of weeks hiatus, but we will be back hopefully next week. I do also have a radio show, 90.1 KZFR, Mondays 5:30 to 6:30. It is the Talking About Practice show. We finally came up with the name.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great name for the show. We talk about practice.
Talking about practice, not a game.
Not a game.
Practice.
Practice.
Yeah, so we had a little bit of a trying to find a proper name, and we came up with.
Name.
I think we struck gold.
That's
So
solid
shout out to
stuff.
DJ PhD for giving us that.
That's good stuff. Also, you can check out me and Derek. We are the co-announce team for the Chico Heat. So you can check those out here on BCAC. Or if you're a local Chico person, come on down to the games and say hi. All right, so that's our show. Next week, my guest host will be Tucker Bowers. We're going to be looking at the new Star Trek movie, Star Trek Beyond, as well as the new horror film. I'm so scared of this thing already. Lights Out.
I've been seeing that everywhere.
Based on the short film, and oh my gosh, it scares the piss out of me. And we're also going to be seeing the kid correspondent. She's coming back for Ice Age Collision Course, which just looks awful, but we'll see, and I'm sure the kid will like it. So, all right, if you like this show but wish it was shorter, you can actually check online. We've got a 90-second version of all of our shows there on our BCAC YouTube page. So, thanks so much. Have a good night. 2 hands.
2 hands.
See, now it just looks like jazz hands.
There we go.
The issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see through your shirt.
Like, you're seeing my naked body, or you're just seeing?
Like the thing behind you.
Okay.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah.
It did it to Alma when I did the Alma show too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw it through her top.